What you're about to hear is a speech so prophetic it feels like Malcolm X wasn't talking to the 1960s at all. He was talking to the people of today. He warned that America had mastered the art of elevating newcomers while keeping Black Americans trapped at the bottom of a hierarchy built on stolen labor. He laid out how immigrant groups would be allowed to form enclaves, build economic power, and rise with a speed Black communities were never permitted. And as the country wrestles once again with undocumented migration, overwhelmed systems, and political chaos, Malcolm's voice returns like an alarm that never stopped ringing.
Politics. You control your own society. You control your own everything. You have yours and you control yours. We have ours and we control ours. They don't call Chinatown in New York City or on the West Coast a segregated community. Yet it's all Chinese. But the Chinese control it. Chinese voluntarily live there. They control it. They run it. They have their own schools. They control their own politics, control their own industry. And they don't feel like they're being made inferior because they have to live to themselves. They choose to live to themselves. They live there voluntarily. And they are doing for themselves in their community the same thing you do for yourself in your community. This makes them equal because they have what you have. But if they didn't have what you have, then they'd be controlled from your side, even though they would be on their side. They'd be controlled from your side.
Malcolm wasn't finished. The next year, he stepped into Detroit and delivered one of the most defining lines of his career, a line that explains exactly why every immigrant group seems to advance faster than the people who were brought here in chains. Not because they're more deserving, not because they're more qualified, but because they came voluntarily and Black Americans did not. A buffer class, if you will.
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. Because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. If you're interested in freedom, you need some judo, you need some karate, you need all the things that will help you fight for freedom. Nationalism is the wave of the present and the future. It is nationalism that's bringing freedom to oppressed people all over the world. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Algerians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Nigerians and to the Ghanaians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the people of Uganda and Tanganyika and Sudan and Somaliland. The Africans didn't get it by sitting in. They didn't get it by waiting in. They didn't get it by singing "We Shall Overcome." They got it through nationalism. And you and I will get it through nationalism. What is it? What is it that makes it difficult for the philosophy of nationalism to spread among the so-called Negroes? Number one, they think they have a stake in America. They think they have an investment in this country, which we do. We invested 310 years of slave labor, 310 years, every day of which your and my mother and father worked for nothing. Not 8 hours a day. There was no union in that day. They worked from sun up until sundown, from can't see in the morning until can't see at night. They never had a day off. And on Sunday, they were allowed to sit down and sing about when they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. When they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. They'd go up in the sky, and every day would be Sunday. That's a shame. And it is that 310 years of slave labor that went in, that was my and your contribution into this particular economy and political system. They can give us the back pay. Let's join in. If this is what the Negro wants, let's join in. Let's show him how to struggle. Let's show him how to fight. Let's show him how to bring about a real revolution. Let's make him stop jiving. You don't need a debate. You don't need a filibuster. You need some action.
And here's where the prophecy becomes uncomfortable. Look at what's happening today. In Minnesota, a Somali-operated network stole hundreds of millions from state programs meant for autistic children and vulnerable families, one of the largest fraud cases in American history. Funds that black neighborhoods have begged for, fought for, and been denied for generations were accessed and drained with stunning ease by newcomers who haven't even been here a fraction of the time. Malcolm warned that immigrant groups would be lifted, protected, and empowered while black communities remained locked out of opportunity. 60 years later, the evidence is not subtle, it's overwhelming. Malcolm's warning wasn't a relic of the 1960s. It was a forecast, a roadmap. And as the country repeats the same political patterns he exposed decades ago, his voice forces a question America still refuses to answer. How long will the people who built this nation be pushed aside for everyone but themselves? His words force a harder question onto the table. How many times must black Americans watch history repeat itself? From Ellis Island to the 1965 Immigration Act, to the refugee waves of the 1990s and today, every era has seen newcomers given tools, protections, and pathways that the descendants of enslaved people were never offered. If each generation of immigrants is handed a ladder, why are black Americans still expected to climb without one? And how many more decades will pass before the country admits what Malcolm saw so clearly, that this imbalance isn't accidental, it's engineered? Legal disclaimer. This report is for educational, informational, and commentary purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Scope News examines historical patterns, public records, and documented events to provide analysis and context. No portion of this content is intended as legal, personal, or professional advice. Thank you for watching Scope News.